I'm the Director of Education and Training at a company called Precision Plus. I'd like to make a couple thank yous right from the get-go. Mrs. Pella, raise your hand. Thanks so much for all your efforts getting this up off the ground. I'd like to acknowledge a couple other manufacturers we have in the room. For those of you students who are looking for opportunities in the area, Waller County specifically, we have Mike Brogan from Brogan Manufacturing. Mike back there. We have Mike Thomas and Ashley from Prop Shop, right here. Amy Santos, is she able to make it? Eric Anderson from Anderson Machining Whitewater, back there. Aaron Hirschman. There's Aaron. He's from Plastech Engineering. Brian Taggart from Huddebeck, down front. And I'd also like to point out Derek Diorio. Derek, if you could stand up for a second. Derek is the director of the Waller County Economic Development, and he's been instrumental in boot camp, so he's the contact, and he's been holding some meetings about the boot camp. You'll have a gentleman today, Rick Lofy, talk about the CC boot camp that hopefully will be available right here in Waller County. We'll talk to that when we get to that point. So my only duty was to welcome you all. At this point, I'm going to turn the program over to Mike Reeder, the owner-president of Precision Plus, who's, this is his brainchild of getting this manufacturing career panel up and running, and this is the third time we've done it, and he's very excited, as you will begin to understand. Mike.
Thank you, Gary. I cannot take credit for this program exclusively. It was really Joanne Pella and back, and we acknowledged her before, but I must acknowledge her again. She's been a great advocate for the students and the business community, and more Joanne Pellas in the world.
It's a partnership. It's a partnership with Mike and every other manufacturer.
Yes, it is. So, I was asking myself on the way in today, why are we here today? Anyone have any ideas? Mr. Marquette. Manufacturing, okay. Well, I am here today because I see over the next 20 years a tremendous opportunity for your generation. There are going to be more advances made. There's going to be just tremendous opportunities for you in manufacturing specifically. We've looked at the studies on what the business community is going to need for employment over the next 20 years and the available resources, as in human resources. And there's a huge gap. So not only is there a skills gap, but there's going to be a numbers gap. So that means good things for all of you. And so what we want to try to do today is show you a couple of different opportunities in what career paths you may want to pursue. And if you find something that is not what you want to pursue, I think we've been equally successful, that you don't waste any time going that direction. Together with my business partners up here, we all come in with the same situation. We're looking for the best and the brightest of this next generation as we try to build the most successful teams possible. We all compete on a global basis. And if we're doing that with a mediocre workforce, it's not going to be very successful. So I'm here today to try to help connect the dots for you. What's important in education, you to understand what your passions are, and then for you to try to figure out what you're passionate about and how that connects with a career opportunity. A lot of different paths to the same destination, you know, whether it be going right into the workforce, technical training, or a 4-year degree, or more so. But we're here today to see if we can help you with that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mr. Dennis Giesler, General Manager of Parker-Hannifin's Quick Coupling Division. They are one of our largest customers, but probably our greatest partner in business. So I'm pleased to introduce Dennis, and must thank him for coming down here today.
Good afternoon, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. Before I get started, you have to realize I haven't been on this stage for 32 years, and last time was graduation day, so that was a good time back then, and a good time for many of you coming. But before I get started, are there any wrestlers from the school here? Congratulations, I see you are the SLC conference champions, so nice job. Any competitors of theirs? Okay, there's the And then my next question, is there any Packer fans out there? Nice. I was rooting for Seattle. So, before we get started, as I said, I did graduate 32 years ago, and I really didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up, and I'm still waiting to find that out. But the truth is, I knew that I like to do things with my hands, and I really like math. And Mike and I were talking earlier, I really, as a young kid, liked to take things apart that my dad owned, and I wasn't so good at putting them back together. But at least I figured out how things came apart. So that was a good thing. So at least I kind of knew where I wanted to go in life. But, you know, you may not have all the answers and no one expects you to. But I think what Mike hit on is you really got to look at what drives you, what gets you up in the morning, what excites you, where's your passion. And if you can take your passion and turn it into a career, you'll be very fortunate. And as Mike said, you know, we're getting older. Mike and I are pretty close to the same age, he's a little older. But, you know, one of the things in my job now is to make sure I'm looking towards the future. Hopefully I get to retire in the next 10 years. And one of the jobs of the general manager I have is to make sure I look at talent development and succession planning for the future. And whether you know it or not, you're the future. And for me to be successful before I retire is to look at the future and help develop them and help find the right talent to replace everybody that's working today. Because you're going to make a difference moving forward. And it's exciting times for you because things are changing faster today than they ever have in the history of the United States, probably the history of the world. So really look deep inside, think about it, give it some time, but find out what you really enjoy doing and make a career of it. And be excited about it. Because you're going to go from school to having a career somewhere. You're not just going to sit around and not have to work. You're going to have to work at some time or another. So enjoy what you do. And what I want to do is give you a couple slides on Parker. But what I'm really hoping at the end here, guys, is you have questions. Because the best thing that can happen today is you share your thoughts with us because we're looking to you to carry the future. And that's a big thing to carry, but it's a very exciting thing. So when you look at Parker, one of the things that's pretty impressive, and if you saw the video, I'm fortunate to work for a company, I've been with Parker for over 30 years, is we touch the lives of many. And at the end of my presentation, I'm going to give you a heads up, you're going to see a video that can almost make you cry. And it's not going to make you cry because it's sad, it could make you cry because it's very exciting about what others have done. And when I say others, when I work for Parker, I work for a large team. It is about a team approach, and when we look at what makes people successful, it's working as a team to impact the lives of others. And when you look at some of those symbols up there, they're the things that affect mankind. And one of Parker's strategy is make sure we're investing and developing and manufacturing products that affect mankind. Because as long as mankind is here, we have the opportunity to make an impact. And all of you have that opportunity. So when you look there, you saw in the video, you can see some blocks and some areas of segments of the world that we play in. Parker really does touch a lot of things. Anybody that's been on an aircraft, Parker builds the hydraulic flight control systems, the fuel systems, the braking system. If anybody grew up on a farm, the hydraulics in the back of your tractor are put together by Parker products. If you went on an amusement park ride, all the systems that let you go up and down that roller coaster safely, Parker builds. It touches the lives of many every day. The key that on this slide, and I want you guys to concentrate on it, is empowered employees. Anybody can make anything. There's very few things in this world that haven't already been invented. The difference between success and failure in many companies are the people. It's no different than if you like sports. You've all had the opportunity to be on a team that's really great, and a team that may have had the best talent in the state, but couldn't win the state championship because they couldn't get along. I'll take a bunch of A-, B+ players any day that can work well together over a bunch of A+ players that don't know how to work as a team. Because at the end of the day, we have to work together to be successful. Nobody can carry the load themselves. So great companies are built on the foundation of their employees. Great companies are based on the foundation of their employees working as a team. So if you like being with others, you have an opportunity to be successful. Parker started nearly 100 years ago, and the reason they're still around today is the empowered people. Many companies have been successful and all of a sudden disappear on the radar. Companies like Parker are around because the people remain committed, not only to today, but guys like myself are looking to the future, looking for you to be the next generation to carry the company forward. We're a global company. Very much when you'll get to see our next speaker coming up in the future. GE is a global company. It's exciting to be a global company. It's also a challenge. You have to deal with multiple cultures. You have to deal with people looking at the world differently than we do. But it's exciting. The world is not about us alone anymore. The world is huge and exciting, and you can be part of it. And to me, if you get a chance, see some of the world. I'm always amazed when I travel. I come home and I'm so much more appreciative for what I have. And I really wish I could take my kids on some trips where they could see what they have. I think sometimes we don't appreciate everything. And I'm not saying there's things bad about the rest of the world. There's a great opportunity in the rest of the world. There's great places, great people. But what you have in your community is special. And never forget that, never take it for granted, and do everything to protect it moving forward. This is just a picture. I said Parker's everywhere. The key here is technology, being innovative. Change is happening. Be part of it. Looking at my division, we have a division that's based in Minneapolis, and we have 6 locations around the United States, and I have sister locations in Europe and Asia. But we're part of a fluid connector group that happens to be the largest group within Parker-Hannifin, and then within that, we're probably the 3rd largest within the fluid connector group. And we have roughly about 800 employees domestically, and we sell all around the world. And through that, we do it with our people. The people are the difference. I have plenty of competitors. I have hundreds of competitors on a worldwide basis. But we are the world's largest supplier of quick couplings because I have a team committed to doing things special every day with our customers. History of our quick coupling division is not surprising. You would see it in other companies like GE. We grow not only internally, but we grow through acquisitions. We acquire other companies to get larger. The neat thing about Parker is when we acquire companies, we acquire them to bring them into the family. We are a large family of over almost 60,000 employees, and when we acquire a company, we don't do it to shut them down. We acquire them to grow them and help them be even more successful than they were the day before. And that's really exciting when you have companies that are looking at it that way. They value the people so much that when they look to acquire a company, the first thing they look at is, how do we keep the people? The most important thing of any company is the people. As I said, we're located just our division is located around the country, and we're in small towns, we're in large towns, we're all over the country. There isn't a state in the union that doesn't have a Parker-Hannifin facility. So if you want to live here the rest of your life, you have opportunities in Wisconsin. I got 2 of them not too far away. You want to go live in California, I got places in California. That's almost like another country. You spend enough time there, you swear it is another country. We have places around the world, very exciting opportunities. If I had to start my career over and take this opportunity, if you ever get the chance to work abroad, jump on it. Get that experience to see some other part of the world, some other culture, some other way of doing things. You'll have a greater appreciation for what they do, and you'll have a greater respect for what you have in this country. I wish I would have done that in college. I watch college students now that have that opportunity to go to a semester abroad. I'd jump on it. I'd jump on it in a heartbeat, because you'll get an opportunity that may never come again in your life. You look at our division headquarters, yes, we are a manufacturer, yes, we design things, but depending what you want to do, we have all kinds of careers. We've got jobs in accounting, we've got jobs in sales, we've got all kinds of things depending on what your passion is and what your skill sets are. That dream can come true, and I think Mike really hit it. We are going to have a shortage of employees in this country in the future, which means if you make the commitment to what you want to do, you will have those opportunities come forth. But it's a two-way street. You need to make the commitment to make the best you can of yourself, and companies will find you, and you'll have a great partnership. Manufacturing is not all dirty. You go to our Minneapolis facility, everything's done in a clean room. We produce for the medical industry. Matter of fact, GE is a customer of ours, and we're probably the customers of theirs. We're big enough that we cross paths and we don't even know it, but all kinds of manufacturing. It can be from screw machines all the way into clean rooms. Depending on what you want to do, what you want to specialize in, the opportunities are there. Some of the products we make, we call it the coupling division, but you'll find out we make a whole lot of other things. We make things in the electronic world, the plastic world. We make all kinds of sensors, so we make a whole lot of things, which makes it really exciting when we're doing things, because every day we can come up with a new invention. We have places in Wisconsin, these are mostly Packer fans. There's some real smart people that are Viking fans there too. But we have plenty of opportunities just in Wisconsin. In Grantsburg, we have 100,000 square feet, a few hundred employees, manufacturing 24/7. Down the road from there, we have Chautauqua, Wisconsin, and they also have close to 90,000 square feet, and they're running almost around the clock as well. So we have plenty of opportunities right in the manufacturing world, also in the design world, also in the support world. Recently, we acquired one of our competitors located in Pennsylvania. It was interesting because you'll find that's an interesting thing when you stand in front of a group of people. I used to have about 200 people that were my arch enemies. I asked you about wrestling. Never burn your bridges because you may work for each other someday. But I stood in front of them and we were arch enemies, and I had to say, okay, now let's hug. We're all part of the same family. So you always want to respect your competitors, because someday you may be part of them, someday you want to work for them. But the truth is, it's good to be competitive, but be respectful about it, because you never know what's going to happen. Overall, that's the products we make, and we're just one of many divisions within Parker-Hannifin, but it takes a lot of talent to get there, and it takes a real team effort to be successful. And the more you become global, the more it is even more critical that you have the right team in front of you to make it happen. So I hope as you guys ponder what you want to do in the future, you really think hard about what drives you, what would get you up every morning to be excited. And if you can take that passion and you can turn it into a career, you're going to have a great time working for the next 30, 40, 50 years. It is going to be that many. As I said, we are pretty diversified. You know, I talked about we're big in the agricultural world. Anybody that's been in the farming industry, we find our product all over the place. You get into the industrial side, we have big companies like Caterpillar. We're selling to them every day. The GE Healthcare is a GE overall. One of the big things we see is life sciences, which I would say fits GE very well. And then oil and gas is another area that we are exploring into and developing big time. Oil and gas is interesting right now. If you're watching the economy, gas prices are plummeting. That's really good for you at the pump. It's not so good if you're in the oil and gas industry right now. They're having some serious pullbacks in the production side, which, again, I like it at the pump. I worry about it because it's not healthy for the economy. So hopefully supply and demand, as you study that, you'll realize it will fix the oil and gas industry. That's a list of some of the customers we actually do business with. The list is, we have thousands of customers. Those are some of the bigger ones for names you might recognize. But every customer is important to us. Every customer is a new opportunity to grow the business and to solve a problem for the world. And with that, I would ask, please pay attention here, because if you ever wondered if you could make a difference in the world, what you're about to see was created from people just like yourself.
Almost 11 years now, I've been a T10 para, something hard to take in, and really didn't know what to do. You just can't realize what you don't have until you lose it.
Over the past 95 years, Parker-Hannifin has developed a core competence in motion and control. As we challenged ourselves to look out over the horizon and to look for new opportunities, we could clearly see that there was a confluence of technologies and research occurring in a space that we later defined as human motion and control.
What drives me in attending this project is to change people's lives. I want the technology to get to a point where people who have paraplegia can't imagine what it was like before exoskeleton.
Once we started, I said, they have the right idea, this will work. I'm pretty much the same person from the waist up. It's just, I get around a little differently now.
The exoskeleton is essentially a wearable robot. It works essentially like a legged Segway.
Folks that we've had in the device can walk several hours at a time. It's not fatiguing because the device holds a lot of their weight. When we're testing the device at Shepherd and people see Michael walking in the device, many of the patients and the family members become very emotional and very tearful because they see that hope and that future for them also.
If I have it on, if I want to stand up, I stand up. If I want to walk, I walk. If I want to stop, I just stop. I don't have to hit a button to do something. It is an emotional boost to be able to stand up and talk to someone. This type of device, it'll never stop growing. But it has to start somewhere, and this is the beginning.
As significant a leap forward as this technology is, it really is just the beginning, and Parker is proud to be on the leading edge of it.
So I do thank you for your time, and as I said at the end, if you have questions, we'd certainly like to field those. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Don and have her continue with the program.
Thank you. I don't have a PowerPoint because I came today to talk about manufacturing in America, and I'm really here just to tell you a story, okay? So let's begin with once upon a time, manufacturing was the engine that really, really grew the U.S. economy. It was ingenuity, it was innovation, it was our ability to be able to produce that really did create what we consider America. And it really was not only the building block, but it also became just the absolute vision and dreams of exactly what the American system could be. There's an awful lot of evidence of manufacturing milestones throughout the history of the U.S. And one of those milestones happened way back in 1914 when a guy called Henry Ford created the first moving conveyor system. At the time, an auto manufacturer really served only the very elite. They were very expensive cars, and quite frankly, most of the masses could never have afforded them. In 1914, Henry Ford came up with a moving conveyor belt. At one time, the chassis took more than 700 minutes to end up having a car chassis go down the road. However, after Henry's moving conveyor belt, those chassis were made in 93 minutes. Oh my God. With the increased productivity, they were able to produce even more cars. They were able to pass on that value to the American consumer. Pretty soon everybody was hitting the road, and guess what? Henry Ford not only had a dedicated workforce, but he was able to pay his employees almost twice as much as any other car manufacturer. Fast forward, American manufacturing won the war. In the late 1941, World War II, we got into the war because the Allied powers needed manufacturing. They needed to be able to end up having the U.S. marshal all of our resources to be able to support the war effort against the evil Axis. At the time when we participated in this strategy, we made an annual airplane production of about 3,000 planes per year. Within 3 years, getting into World War II, this country retooled other manufacturing entities, and we produced more than 300,000 planes in 3 years. We also ended up creating an awful lot of value streams for an awful lot of other things that ended up supporting the war effort. And up until that point in time, through American ingenuity, we were able to create things that really helped win the war. Things like radar, sonar, even the atomic bomb. When you fast forward even a little bit more, manufacturing in America, because of our technologies, because of our leadership role, to be able to end up creating and to be able to use things that had never been used before, to be able to come up with value in materials materials and properties, we were able to beat the Russians and put the first man on the moon. That's American manufacturing. That's what made America. And then it happened in the 1980s. The 1980s, there was a little thing that was introduced called the fax machine. And the fax machine changed American manufacturing. Because of the fax machine, within real time, you could send drawings, you could send photographs, you could send specs, you could communicate in real time. And this created globalization. And quite frankly, globalization in and of itself was a good thing. However, American industry didn't respond to it exactly in the right way. We thought American manufacturing was going to be around forever because we were the best and we built things to last. But what happened is as globalization hit, manufacturing went to where there was cheaper labor. And so there was an awful lot of places like Japan and Taiwan and Korea and China that were able to produce goods much, much cheaper. So what? We're America. We were building things to last. The problem was, we really, really didn't understand that the American consumer had changed. And in America, we are still the largest consumer nation. We were then, we still are today. So you have to absolutely understand exactly who your customer is. Back in the 80s, where we miscued is that while we were building things to last, think about refrigerators. Oh my goodness, they were made to last for 30, 35 years. When you ended up having all these goods coming into the system, American consumers decided that they wanted value. They wanted a good deal. And they were willing to pay for a less robust appliance or whatever it was, with the idea that they could replace it. If things didn't, go as planned or whatever, big deal, you buy another one. And because of the value proposition, we ended up having that kind of competition which changed the psyche of American consumerism. We became more of a disposable nation. Instead of having things that were going to last 30 years, who wanted that avocado green refrigerator in their kitchen when everybody else wanted stainless steel? It changed an awful lot of the way that Americans looked at exactly what was value. So in the 80s, we ended up looking at exactly what was going to be the value propositions for things going forward. And Generac, the United States kind of lost its leadership position. It was getting a little bit more competitive all the time. Just to illustrate the impact to our GDP. And does everybody know what GDP is? Yes, no? GDP is gross domestic product. It affects everybody. Basically what happens is GDP is a way that we measure the health of the world economies. So when you have GDP that's going up, it usually means that you have a lot higher employment, you don't have as much unemployment, you have a lot more spending power because wages usually increase, and you also end up having a healthier stock market. So that's what GDP is. And what happened with the 80s, when we started seeing some of the slag in our manufacturing, that manufacturing sector started to fall. In fact, the GDP in the 1980s, our manufacturing sector was about 21% of our GDP. By the 1990s, that had declined to 18%. By the year 2000, that had declined to 15%. And today, manufacturing as a sector in GDP is hovering about 12 to 13%. Meanwhile, China had the inverse during that same time frame. In the 1980s, the GDP for the manufacturing sector in China was about 7.5%. And today, it's about 27 to 28%. So what does that really mean? Well, for me, I lived through this time. I started my career at Generac 42 years ago. Yeah, 42 years ago, okay? Let that sink in for a little bit. But when I started at Generac, The company had already been in business. We were located in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and the company had been around for about 12 years. We manufactured then portable generators, and we manufacture now portable generators and a whole line of generators. But that was our basic business. When I started, we probably had about 100 employees, and the annual sales was about $18 million. I had started this job, but did I choose Generac as a career? I mean, when I was your age, I didn't have a clue as to what I wanted to be when I grew up. I didn't have really anybody that was sitting there inspiring me to go into manufacturing, for God's sakes. It was just, I ended up going in there and got a job. But when I was your age, there was something that I did know. I absolutely knew I wanted to be successful. And for me, success meant I wanted to work with people that I really had fun with, people that I enjoyed being around. That was one measure that I had for my success. I wanted to make a lot of money. And I'm here to tell you, don't worry about the fact that when you say you want to be able to make a lot of money that everybody goes, oh my God, oh my God. No. People work because they want to make money, and I wanted to make a lot of it. I wanted to travel. I had the travel bug early on, and that was one of the things I knew that in my life I really, really wanted to see the world. I wanted to do things that were going to challenge me, because Lord knows I didn't want to have to go into a job every day, Monday through Friday, and be bored. And the other thing I knew I wanted was I wanted to make a difference. I didn't know how, but that was important to me, is that I wanted to make a difference. So I started working at Generac on the assembly line during the summers. My first full-time job was as secretary, because back in the day that's what girls did. And I worked there for a while, and the company continued to grow. We got bigger, we got bigger, we had to hire a whole lot more people. And so I decided that Generac needed a human resources department. So I created one. And I didn't know anything about human resources at all. So I had to go out and find people who did. So I networked with a whole bunch of people. I asked a whole lot of dumb questions. I actually went out and really, really joined all kinds of organizations. I read books, I did whatever I had to do in order to be able to learn what this thing called HR, at the time it was called personnel, really was. And guess what? Voila, Generac had an HR department. Didn't stop there though, because the company continued to grow, and we got bigger, and we got bigger. And guess what? What happened in the world is that I had to learn a whole lot and become an expert on things that I had never, ever thought about before. Employee benefits, compliance with state and federal regulations, figuring out exactly what to do with labor laws and everything else. And as I was figuring it out, every time I thought I had it licked, it kept changing. So one of the things that I learned early on in my career, and I will pass this along so that you don't have to sit there and think about it too hard, but the secret to success is your willingness and your ability to adapt. You have to end up constantly learning. You have to constantly end up looking at what's coming at you next. Because if you stay static, there is no way that you can possibly be successful. In this ever-changing world of work, Generac didn't stay static either. We continued to grow, and we got bigger and bigger. Eventually, I was promoted to Vice President of Human Resources at Generac, and by that time, we had gone from, when I started this little $18 million company, to now we were a $350 million company. Instead of 100 employees, you know, we had a couple thousand, and we really, really did start looking at more multiple facilities throughout the state. I will tell you that was another thing that really appealed to me, was not only was I working with people that I really enjoyed working with, but I also worked with people that were brilliant. They were people that I had a great deal of respect, and guess what? They respected me. And that too was so important, to be able to go into work every day and really, really get challenged and really come up with things collaboratively that would move our company forward, make us even better. I will tell you that one of the things that I wanted to do was to stay with this company because as we continue to grow and expand, it just was exciting. I had made a commitment to this company and I was going to stick with it and not leave in the middle of the movie. Eventually, I ended up becoming COO, Chief Operations Officer at this company, as my responsibilities as Chief Operations Officer were lengthy. It was a very large company and I was responsible for all of manufacturing and all of our manufacturing facilities. I was responsible for materials management. I was responsible for global supply, maintenance, safety, environmental, HR, IT, service, parts and warranty. I was the second banana in this multi-gajillion-dollar company. And guess what? The reason that's remarkable is for two reasons. First of all, you never go from HR, the people side of the business, into the process and production side of the business. It's not a transition that most people ever work through, and quite frankly, it's an unusual career path. But I got to see both sides of the business, and that in and of itself was remarkable. But even more remarkable was the fact that I was a woman. Quite frankly, at the time that I was promoted into this position, only 2% of women had a similar position. I was pretty proud. I was the unicorn of manufacturing. It worked out pretty well. I've had many challenges, and throughout the years, I can tell you I've been really, really overwhelmed at times. But I learned a few things along the way too. First of all, you can't enjoy your work unless you're willing to take risks. You really, really have to end up sticking your neck out and meeting challenges, which means you better be prepared with a core confidence that no matter what, you're going to be able to bring people together or collaborate or research, do whatever you need in order to be able to make those risks opportunities. The other thing I learned along the way is that you make mistakes. And I will tell you that I've always learned more from my mistakes than I've learned from successes. So with risk, you end up having to end up once in a while falling flat in your face. And if you can get through with humor and humility, trust me, it makes the experience a whole lot better. The other thing I learned along the way is that they don't pay people to be safe. If you want to get into a high-paying job, you have to make a commitment. That means you have to stay abreast of whatever is necessary for you to be able to maintain that value to that organization, which means you have to work harder. You have to put in the time. In some cases, there's sacrifices to be made. And those people that are willing to put forth the additional effort, they're the ones that are going to get the bigger paychecks. The other thing, probably the most important thing, is after you've figured out that you have to adapt, you have to work hard, you have to end up having a lot of people standing behind you, willing to help you out. You also have to do it over and over and over again. So one of the most important things to success is having the stamina. You can't be a one-hit wonder and then rest on your laurels for the rest of your career. You have to continue to do it over and over and over again. Last year, Generac sales was $1.5 billion. Billion with a B. When I started, it was 18 million. Last year, it was 1.5 billion. We have 6 manufacturing facilities in the state of Wisconsin. We have 1 manufacturing facility in North Dakota. We have 2 in Mexico. We have 1 in Italy, and we have 1 in Brazil. We have about 3,800 employees that are working for this company. You know what? When I was sitting out there where you are, at that time, my success was absolutely unimaginable. I knew what I wanted, but I wasn't exactly sure how to get there. I believe that manufacturing allowed me to exceed my expectations. And I'll tell you why. You know, I think manufacturing is a great career for women. I broke some of the barriers, but I will tell you that one of the things about manufacturing is it's all about performance. And you don't find that in some other career fields. But when you're in manufacturing, it's all about performance. And that was one thing that was kind of a leveling effect, irrespective of your gender. There are still far too few women in manufacturing leadership positions, but that's changing. And it's changing because more women are getting interested in STEM education. You have more women that are willing to accept leadership positions, and you have more women that are willing to look at more non-traditional jobs, that are willing to end up taking more risks than probably would have been the case even 10 years ago. I think that women are no longer scared of the technology, and that too is also changing, and it is going to end up being great for women that are coming into manufacturing leadership roles. For me, my success was knowing how to adapt and to continuously challenge myself and to continuously really shoot for the best. I will tell you that you can't lead if you don't have people that follow. So to be a leader and to end up looking at a manufacturing career that really is going to end up giving you the kind of filling up your soul, you have to approach your job with integrity. You have to be honest about the decisions you make. You have to not only end up looking at your job, but you have to look at your character. And sometimes when it's easy to take the shortcut, don't ever do it, because in life, your success will always be the reputation that you carry. I think that manufacturing is amazing. It's amazing. And it's because it's fast, it's dynamic, it's changing. You know, when good old Henry Ford was building that first conveyor line, guess what? It changed. That became a new curve. It's here right in front of us. And we haven't figured out exactly where it's going next, but it is here. I think that, you know, one of the things that appeals to me about manufacturing is because it's ever changing. Most of you haven't been exposed to modern manufacturing. I get that. So in some cases, it's kind of hard to talk about, you know, where this is going next when you haven't even figured out exactly where it is. In some cases, people still have the idea that manufacturing are these loud, dirty, mind-numbing, repetitive jobs in these horrible, horrible sweatshop factories. Well, you know what? That goes back to what I was talking about the 1980s, because that might have been the case then. All of those jobs are currently offshore. They're not coming back. There are still some dumb jobs being done by some companies in manufacturing, but those are not the jobs that you're aspiring to. Those will never be jobs that are going to give you the kind of wage to support the lifestyle that you're going to want. So at the end of the day, what I'm talking about is next generation advanced manufacturing jobs. And more throughout the US, manufacturers are embracing these new technologies and these new advancements in not only material properties, but also in modern manufacturing techniques. You know, one of the things that I don't think anybody can think about is the fact that the jobs of tomorrow are actually unknowable. We're looking at robots that are not only going to be doing repetitive jobs and just doing things like welding, but the robots of today that are here right now have the technology to almost have human qualities. These robots are able to have dexterity, they're able to have memory, they're able to have discernment, they have sensing capabilities. It's pretty remarkable. And that's only the robots of today. Think about once they start getting into the workforce, how many more refinements are going to go into robotics. And 3D printing, you've all heard of 3D printing? In the next decade, that is going to change manufacturing remarkably. It's going to be like what the fax machine did. At the end of the day, there are so many other of these techniques, these technologies, and these new tools that are going to reshape manufacturing into something that quite frankly, we're just barely on the cusp of right now. But not only are the future jobs going to change, it's also going to change what the workforce is going to have to look like. You people sitting out here today, you don't want the dumb jobs. You don't want the manufacturing of the past. you want to get involved with the new advanced manufacturing of the future. Those are going to require a totally different skill set. And you know what? I don't know how to tell you how to prepare for them because I don't know what the jobs are going to look like. What I do know is those people that are successful in those jobs are going to have higher wages, they're going to have more opportunities, and they really are going to end up becoming some of the future leaders. One of the things about the future of manufacturing is that it's going to require people that can think on their feet. It's going to be requiring people that can work collaboratively, because you're going to end up having to have math skills and skill sets that work with abstract principles into making them into tangibles. And those are going to be some of the things that, quite frankly, I don't know exactly how you prepare for that, other than the fact that what you need to do is make sure that you are brushing up on the skill sets that are going to end up being able to get into that door. And those are the math, the sciences, and quite frankly, the grade point average. I can't talk to you about how the future is going to look for everybody, but I can tell you that for me, it's been a swell ride. 16 years ago, I also started an organization that is now called the GPS Education Partners. And basically, what GPS is, it's a program that really allowed students to really get in and explore career opportunities. We started it at Generac, and it became so incredibly successful that by 2005, we actually ended up creating a non-entity nonprofit, or an entity as a nonprofit for GPS Education Partners, and I currently serve on the board of directors for it. When I talk about what I wanted to do with my life, and that one of the things I wanted to do was make a difference, this is one of those really, really cool things where I've made a difference. GPS Education Partners actually takes juniors and senior high school students and allows them to go into paid youth apprentice programs with a special adapted education model. What we do is we currently have 16 education centers, and these centers are actually, they are in the four walls of a manufacturer. Students from junior or senior classes come in and they spend their entire day, 2 hours in the ed center, the other 6 hours actually out on the shop floor. Our students, our youth apprentices, are not job shadowing. They're actually performing complex jobs, and they're actually doing the work of our adult mentors. After 3 months, our students rotate. So in some cases, they might start in a complex machining operation, but then they go into an assembly operation, or the rotation might not even be in the same manufacturer. It might be in a totally different manufacturer altogether. But this allows student learners to end up looking at all kinds of career options. Not only can you look at what's going on the floor, but you can also end up getting a rotation into an engineering lab, or you get a rotation into one of our global supply operations. All in all, this is an entity that right now we have 100 business partners. We have almost 50 high schools that are participating. I'm hoping that Elkhorn is going to get involved. We're already talking to Elkhorn high schools. And again, by 2016, this will be a national footprint. So I can't tell you exactly what you want to be when you grow up, but I think you certainly should explore the wide, wide world of manufacturing. It is an amazing, amazing place. Thank you so much.
Diversify. So as you move up, you kind of get dumber, right? So I feel about like that a lot of times. It's kind of like as you get older, your parents get dumber, but then all of a sudden they get smarter. Really diversifying your skills and being able to do many things well is something that I've seen in the best leaders, the people that are successful. Talked about the global competition. Okay. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about GE. Whenever I get a group together like this, I like to have people raise their hands and what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of GE? GE, General Electric.
Microwave.
Anybody ever heard of the company?
Microwave.
All right. What's that? Washers. Anybody else?
Fridges.
Medical.
Phones, fridges, they make everything. Microwave.
Okay. So we're a lot of appliances. Often we get the light bulb, right? GE's in a lot of different things. So huge organization, founded by Thomas Edison in 1878. Really lasted the test of time. So I heard the other presentations, a lot about passion, a lot about evolving. GE is also a company that's a lot about leadership. So when we look at how do you really sustain over time, and we're a publicly traded company, what it comes down to is, do you have the right people? Do you have the right leaders? Are you evolving? And as a company, we actually want to get out of the business where we're dealing with appliances. We actually want to get out of the business where we're dealing with light bulbs. What we're always constantly looking to do, we actually exited our plastics business a while back. And the reason for that is we want to be in heavy engineering and manufacturing businesses that have high barriers to entry where we can really leverage the capital that we have. And we're not only competing with other companies these days, but we're competing with, for example, China, right? So that's our focus as an organization, heavy engineering, industrial, and a technology company. About 150 billion in revenue, operated around the globe. So just a huge company. We're operating in a variety of different business units, and this is how we're organized. But we do a lot of work in energy, so I've heard a lot about oil and gas, and when oil's at 50 bucks a barrel, that does impact our business. We do a lot of work in healthcare. That's actually the business that I'm a part of. I'm going to talk about that in more depth today, but that's a big focus for us. We work in aviation, and this is a perfect example of where we compete against China. For example, we can make an aircraft engine that they've been trying to make, and at the altitudes, and at the speeds, and at the temperatures, right? They just haven't been able to figure it out. So that's where, the engineering of GE and the power of GE, I find to be very impressive when I spend time with my coworkers that work in that area. Transportation, so we do a lot with locomotives, rail, right? Huge opportunity. We actually, as a part of this business, helped to optimize the U.S. rail system, and we used a variety of simulation modeling tools to help rethink that as a part of the way we can improve the productivity and then ultimately sell more rail cars. GE Capital, so this is something that you hear a lot about, and we actually are trying to reduce our revenue in this area because we don't want to trade like a bank. For Wall Street, the PE on that, the price to earning ratio, and how that impacts the stock price, you actually want to dial that down a little bit. And then home, business, media. So we used to own NBC. We actually recently sold that to Comcast. But the point here is there are a lot of different opportunities. I've been with the company for 10 years. 10 years ago, we were all about how do we increase our revenues to above 50% outside of the United States. Really now it's all about how do we globalize and take advantage of our size and scale. Within the GE Healthcare business, this is an $18 billion business unit. Formerly it was based in Waukesha. Actually, when we acquired a company called Amersham, we moved that to the UK, so very close to home here. 46,000 employees, $1 billion in investment in R&D. So again, we're seeing a trend here, right? Heavy engineering, manufacturing focus, really looking for things that other people can't do. So, with this business, we actually talk about our $18 billion business unit generates about $3 billion in profit, and that pays for the healthcare costs of all our other employees. So Geoff, our chairman, often jokes about how he operates the healthcare business to essentially pay for the healthcare costs of all the other businesses combined. And the reason I'm passionate about healthcare is I just see that it's something that's making the U.S. uncompetitive. So if we don't reduce our healthcare costs, if we don't better spend our money on education, it's really going to be a struggle for us over our lifetimes, and especially for all of you over your lifetimes if we don't improve this situation. GE is the company that invented the X-ray machine, and if you know anything about I'll talk about some of the other areas that we focus in a minute in our different products, but basically a CT scanner is an X-ray machine that spins around your body. So we invented that, something we're very proud of. Research and development. So I did want to poll the group, so I make sure I tailor my message. Who's planning on attending a 2-year technical college? Just kind of raise your hand and keep it up. Who's planning on attending a 4-year college? Keep them up. I just want to understand. 4-year. Who has aspirations to get an advanced degree? Maybe master's degree, PhD, right? So our research and development centers, this is really for people that are focused in on how do I get my master's degree, how do I get my PhD, really want to be in an area where they're contained with other people that are very focused in on solving a very specific problem. And the beauty of GE is we have careers in that area. They're great people, they're a resource that we invest in, and that's really where we get a lot of our innovation, in addition to through acquisition. So, as you can see, very global in nature, and I have a son that's 5 and a daughter that's 6, and when I think about them over their lifetime, I think about not only they have to worry about competing within the US, but really what I've seen through my experiences is they have to worry about competing globally. So I think it's just something for us all to keep in mind. Manufacturing facilities, and the way we make decisions around manufacturing facilities is there's a lot more in-country, for-country, and that's a term that we use a lot at GE. So when we want to build something in India, and for example, infant warmers. So, after a child's born, you need to keep them warm, right? The things that we manufacture in the United States that you see in hospitals, and you go in and you look at that, there is no way anybody in India could ever afford that. So there's a lot of innovative technologies that are often developed in countries, and what we find is it's much more cost-effective to manufacture within that country as well. And we're seeing a lot more trends around how do we take things back from Mexico to the United States. Seeing a lot of manufacturing coming back to a lot of the southern states that are oftentimes a little more pro-business. But that's kind of how we make decisions. It's about competing globally. We're a publicly owned company. How do we manufacture something at a low cost, and how do we go out there and get the right talent? And when we do want to open a facility where it has the right cost structure, so we can be successful. So tremendous opportunities at GE within manufacturing, specifically for people that have technical training or well versed with technology, which is not a problem for your generation, but that's something that we look for. The other point is not everybody at GE has a 4-year degree. So one of the areas that we see a lot of recruitment is within our healthcare services business. So we do a lot of recruitment from DeVry, for example. People that go out and service the MRIs, the CTs, the X-ray scanners, we see a great pool of talent come from that area. And that's a big thing that I always talk to people about is really understand your own strengths and where you want to focus, but there's a lot of opportunities out there in manufacturing and also in the service business. So the things that we're focused in on, healthcare systems within this business unit, these are MRIs, CTs, X-ray equipment. So the things that, you break an arm or you hit your head, you get scanned with. Healthcare IT, huge opportunity. Not only in electronic medical records that you hear a lot about, so you go to the doctor and you go to another doctor, right, all consolidating all that information, but it's also about how do we take information about you and make it meaningful. So we're doing a lot of work around big data, intelligence, personalized medicine, things like that. Global services, this is really keeping the equipment up and running, blocking and tackling. We have about 60 to 70% margins on that type of business. So the beauty of this model is you sell somebody an MRI or a CT for $1.2 million, $1.3 million, and then you charge them $100,000 a year in service for that equipment at a 60 or 70% margin. So very profitable portion of our business. Within surgery, we provide a lot of technologies that while you're in surgery, the doctor can actually be seeing what's happening within your body and then go after and eradicate a tumor and focus in on that. Life sciences, so we help with providing a variety of different things, everything from equipment to reagents to things to help produce pharmaceuticals. So, the Pfizers, the Amgens, people like that, they're a big customer of ours, as well as injecting you with some type of media when you're getting a scan. An example of that would be a PET CT scanner. So if somebody has cancer, there's a scanner, it's called a PET scanner. You basically inject them with this agent. The cancer cells suck it up and it glows. So you can actually pinpoint and tell exactly where the cancer is. So the other area is healthcare partners. That's actually the business that I'm one of the senior leaders in. I report to my boss is the CEO of the US and Canada. I actually am based within this area. But we're really the solutions people. So we work with organizations where they have a problem, and we come in and basically take all the capabilities of GE and consulting capabilities and help solve problems. So you've probably seen IBM's commercials, they're making a smarter planet. We're effectively that type of group within GE Healthcare. So we work with a variety of different people. Within the US, it's physicians, nurses, doctors, executives. They're typically the people that are hiring us. Within the Middle East, it's the Ministry of Health. Within China, it's the government of China, right? So we're doing a lot of work in a lot of different areas. It really depends on what is their healthcare system and how are they organized, but just a variety of different opportunities. Healthcare partners, this is the group that I'm a part of. As I mentioned, we do a lot of different work. It's largely management consulting, so I work typically for CEOs, COOs of hospitals on their toughest challenges. One interesting thing that I'm working on right now, so GE, as you may know, sponsors the Olympics. You'll see a lot of our commercials when the Olympics are on. And the city of Rio actually has a command center, whereas they're preparing for the Olympics, they want to make sure that the hospitals are all connected within that. Well, several of my colleagues have been working with the city of Rio, and I was at Johns Hopkins, and we were having a discussion around, hey, we have all these problems with coordinating patients through our hospital. They're in inner city Baltimore, and really tough payer mix, similar to kind of in our area, the University of Chicago. But they just had these excessive wait times for the ED and just not very operationally efficient. So we talked to them about how do we build a command center specifically for the Johns Hopkins Hospital. And that involves a variety of different things. And this is one of the projects that I'm working on. This is a mock-up of it at our site in Barrington, where my background, and I'll get into this in a little bit, it was computer engineering, but it's been management consulting. But when you think about how do I build a command center for a hospital and all the different capabilities and the skills and the talent that needs to go into that, it's not just one person, right? It's not somebody just creating an app. It's how do I have the right software programmers? How do I have people that are interested in big data, security, computer vision is actually something that we're using as a part of that. Patient safety, finance, the lawyers get involved, right? They're kind of the fun police whenever you're trying to do this kind of stuff. Compliance, right? And then we have our global research center involved in really building new solutions for the future. So this is the kind of stuff that just charges me up because I really think we can make a measurable impact in healthcare, help lower cost structures, make it better for doctors, make it better for patients. So it's an interesting thing. I feel very fortunate in my career. So I grew up in Midland, Michigan, which is very similar to this area. It's about the same distance from Chicago or Milwaukee that I was from Detroit. My dad was a bricklayer. I grew up basically going to work with him every day. And when I was a junior, he just said, looked at me one day and said, I don't want you doing this. I don't want you to have the same life that I've had. And for me, it kind of started me thinking about, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And I honestly, I really didn't have a clue. So I ended up getting a basketball scholarship to a community college, Delta College, and it was actually a great opportunity for me. I ran into a group of people. I was always good at math and science. Started to take some pre-engineering courses, and I just really liked it a lot. And so after that, I got involved while I was there, I was paying for my own school other than my scholarship, so I got a co-op job at Dow Chemical, which is in that town. Started doing that, started doing some computer programming in a platform called SAP, which is it's a German language, but it's a lot of Fortune 500 companies use this system to run their organization. So I started to build some skills. I got some work experience, I built some skills, and then from there, I started to build some relationships with various different people, and then transferred to Michigan State. Decided that I was going to go after a degree in computer engineering. The way I did that is I went to the career counselor's office, and I looked at a list, and I knew that was a top paying job. And I like to make money too, you know. Especially when you're going to pay for your own college, you know, you'd have to figure out what's the return on investment. And if I'm going to do this and I'm going to be on the hook for that, what am I going to get out of it at the end of the day? So I know you all are probably thinking through a similar type of thing. So did that, got my degree in computer engineering, went, had a lot of job offers, Ford, Dow Chemical, and I just made the decision I didn't want to live and die in the same town that I grew up in. So I left and took a job for a company called Clarkson Potomac, did management consulting, started doing IT implementations, traveled all over the US, started to work in Puerto Rico, started to work in the UK, great global experience, and I was largely working for big pharma companies. GE actually was one of my clients, and when I was there, I built a really good relationship with them and decided, you know, I really like the culture of the company, and you know, I've heard from the other speakers, purpose, culture, passion, right? And it's so important to work somewhere where you really like to do what you want to do every day. So ended up joining GE. Fast forward, took a variety of different leadership roles, and it's just been a great experience for me because I think I've taken my skills from being very technical to bigger, broader leadership roles, but my foundation in engineering has always served me very well to do things that are very innovative. So that's a little bit about my career journey and how I went through it. Things, when I was talking to Mike about preparing for this, things that you want to focus in on or lessons learned, and what I see, and this is more through other people's careers at GE, is education. And the example I like to use is Michael Jordan was tall enough, so probably the greatest basketball player ever. And I see a lot of people, at GE from Harvard or Bucknell or wherever else, and then there's people like me from Michigan State and Illinois, and we all end up in the same place, and every once in a while they'll pick on us for going to a state school, but I don't know that I'm too quick to really want to go invest for my kids in Ivy League. Passion and drive, I think this is something that if you really look at all the CEOs, for example, across GE, it's the people that are driven. So, the wrestlers, the basketball players, the football players, right? The people that just have that burning fire within their body, right? That is the person that's going to be successful, and I'll put my money on that person every time. The other thing is, you own your own career. So if you have no plan and you have no action, you have no future, right? And that's the number one thing I'll say to people. It's, there's a lot of people that I run into that are entitled, and you will not be successful if you continue down that path. Diversify. So as you move up, you kind of get dumber, right? So I feel like that a lot of times. It's kind of like as you get older, your parents get dumber, but then all of a sudden they get smarter. really diversifying your skills and being able to do many things well is something that I've seen in the best leaders and people that are successful. Talked about the global competition, competing globally, and Mike's one of the guys that is out there, fighting the politics and trying to make America more competitive, right? And the longer that you get in your career, the more important that you really realize that is. And it becomes more about legacy, global competitiveness. But as a company, we really get into how do we compete globally. The other things I wanted to talk about is what can you do? I think the big thing is what are your strengths and what are your passions? So what are you good at? You don't have to be good at everything, but really I think you owe it to yourself to do something that leverages your strengths and you're going to enjoy every day. Set goals, midterm, short-term, long-term. I've always found that setting goals is something that's been very beneficial for me. Even if I don't achieve them in the time frame that I want, at least I have goals and I'm striving for something. Differentiate yourself. So I talked about my co-op experience. That was a clear differentiator when I went to go get a job. There were a lot of people with computer engineering degrees. There were very few people that had worked at Dow Chemical, Ford, and could do computer programming. And then start and evolve now. I see people wait for the perfect opportunity, and I really think, through all the different resources, this is my first exposure to this type of an event, and I see a lot of people investing in you, and I would just say you really want to take advantage of that. So, appreciate the time here today, and turn it over for questions in a minute.
Thank you, Geoff. I wanted to introduce Rick Lofy. He's with Gateway Technical College right here in Elkhorn. And he's going to share with you some of the things that they are doing to improve the course offerings and how they connect you to your future career path.
So how are you all? Just pretty good? You want to stay another hour and a half? All right, pay attention. You've had 3 different companies up here talk to you, and all very impressive in the entire world. Who's making an impact in this area is my greeter. We need people now. We need to take a look at the individuals who are in the high schools and get them motivated to take a look at doing these jobs that produce all of these fantastic products that are sold all over the world. What I'm going to tell you about is something you don't have to pay for. You don't have to start a time where you're going to be looking at paying for more and more classes, running up debt, boarding. I'm going to talk about GE for a while. Here we go. All right. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you an opportunity to start working at these places at no cost. I'm going to tell you this. We started out by doing a CNC boot camp, computerized numerical control. Program these machines to make parts. We're in our 21st one in Racine. It was 2 years ago somebody says, you know, Rick, this is doing real well for the city of Racine, for the county of Racine, for Walworth County, Kenosha County, and bringing down their unemployment rate. Because what we did is we trained people that were out of jobs or underemployed. The county executive of Racine County says, hey, Rick, I want you to put one of these together for high school students. And I told him, you must be dreaming. There's no way I'm going to do this for high school students. They don't listen. They don't pay attention. They don't know what they want to do. I'd rather yell at adults than have a high school student's parent come back at me and say, you were mean to my kid. Well, we did the first high school boot camp and it was really successful. We did another one this past year and it was better. So we're now going to provide an opportunity to all three of the counties to engage with. And at first, the plans were to say, hey, this is all going to be done at Sturtevant, where we've got a lab. And we'll see about getting bus transportation for you people out in Elkhorn, Lake Geneva, Delavan, Whitewater. And we'll start the classes an hour later. I live in Elkhorn, and I got to go to Sturtevant every blessed day, 45, 50 minutes when it's nice. I don't think you guys should have to do that. And besides that, if it was a bus, it would be leaving Elkhorn, and then y'all from Whitewater, Lake Geneva, Delavan, maybe Bigfoot, have got to get here to get on the bus. So I told my boss I'm going to see what I can do about developing a dual schedule. Taking a look for other instructors, Richard Chouse down here to be part of it. Taking a look at finding other instructors like maybe Barry Butters. So you guys don't have to do the extra travel. All right? I will tell you, Racine, we've only get about 50, last year we had 20. And only about 15 made it through. I'd like to see in Walworth County, 20 of them sign up for this. It's about $5,000 and you don't have to pay a penny. What makes this program unique is the fact that we try to set up mentors for you. So as you're going through these different classes, you've got these employers around here that are going to help you out. Help you out as you go through your math classes, help you out with blueprint, help you out with gauging, give you tours of their facilities so you can see what manufacturing is really like. And I'll tell you, it's not what it was like when I was working in the shop. It's not what it was like when my dad, my grandpa worked in the shop. It's entirely different. It's a cleaner environment. And what we're going to train you is we're going to give you the opportunity to become involved in taking a look at 16 credits. 16 credits to transfer to any college. We don't expect you to stay working in the shop, but you're going to have a great understanding of what it takes to cut the metal to make a part. We've had individuals from our boot camps progress to become supervisors, plant managers, and engineers. And what a better way to know what it's all about by working out there in the shop floor, seeing what teams are all about, and making it happen and progress. You got a manufacturer back here. Anderson Manufacturing in Whitewater. Giving these classes out there in Racine and Kenosha, nobody ever wanted to come to the other side of the Y. The I. And now, he sees a resume that says boot camp on it, it goes to the front of his desk. He gets a chance to take a look at it. He's been a great employer for us. I'm hoping he's going to do the same thing with the high school boot camps. Become a mentor, get a couple of you out there. You better. I'll come look. We're going to look for other companies. Mike Reeder, Barry Butters, Bill Wells. They know where to find me. We want to provide them with the best trained individuals to be able to walk in a plant and be able to do a job. You're going to take a look at this. We got it broken down to a couple different segments. This time up here starts at 8:30. That's if you guys got to travel to Sturtevant. Otherwise, all of our classes start at 7:30. One of the biggest things that we're going to be the biggest hounds on you for is showing up every day on time. Because that's what's going to make a difference when you're on the job. It doesn't make any sense to not know when your individuals are going to show up to do the work. Each of these employers have got commitments to customers. And it happens because of their employees. So we're going to work on that. Then we're going to talk about the educational portion of it. You're going to go through math. You're going to go through blueprint reading. It's going to be like a foreign language to you. Because you're not only going to know the inch system, you're going to know the metric system. We're going to teach you to use a couple different gauges. Because what good is it to be able to put a machine in put a part in the machine, pull it out, and not know if it's good or bad? That's going to be your responsibility. We're going to give you an introduction to what CNC is all about, what offsets are, how to do them, because it's your job to make good parts. We can go find anybody that shows up whenever they want to produce garbage, but that's not what we're after. We're after providing the best education we can for you to be successful at the different places you're gonna have the opportunity to work at. If you need to progress to some other place, I saw hands up here for 2 years. I saw hands up here for 4 years. I saw bodies with no hands going up. Either you don't know or you were sleeping. I will guarantee you this. Should you be selected for the CNC High School Boot Camp, you won't have an opportunity to sleep in a class. You'll be too busy. We take a real hard look at what we call classroom management. You will be tested. Our very first group of people to be through this class. I haven't opened the book for 12 years. Why should I start now? This class is for those incoming seniors. You're going to start July 13th, 4 or 5 hours a morning, the afternoons a year. You're going to do that till about Labor Day. After Labor Day, now you're going to go to classes in the afternoon. You're going to do your high school classes in the morning. You're going to come to the classes here in the afternoon. When you get to the end of your semester in January, you're going to start working at your mentor's place. You'll work out different schedules with them. When these mentors get involved, they sign themselves up for a year commitment to being as supportive of you as possible. And if you do them a good job, their commitment to you is to offer you a full-time job. You make some good money. I'll tell different individuals, as you take a look at something like this, this is not the time to stop your education. It's the opportunity for you to make sure you're working at the right place that's going to provide you an opportunity for tuition reimbursement. So you continue your education and your boss is done, not yours. Progress in engineering. Become a supervisor. Become a leader. And get other people doing this job. Second, afternoon session will be from probably 11:45 to 4:05. When you come back from the Christmas break, you'll be spending 5.5 hours in the shop every day. All right? Sometimes I like to refer to that time as thinning of the herd. If you're those students that didn't open the books, you're not going to make it through. These, from the technical colleges, don't transfer any credit to all the high school. And that's when it's fun to tell them, hey, guess what? You got another semester of high school coming up. All right? I got some flyers up here. I want you to take a look at them. You also have different individuals that are available, like Katie Graff over here, to talk to and see what else you need to get from her to be able to get into the program. So, thank you for your time and attention. I wish you all the best of luck.